Okie dokie. Thank you for joining me today. In this morning's exercise, what we're going to be doing is exploring three different types of what are called conditional sentences. All right, now, the objective for today is we will be able to identify and hopefully create conditional sentences using the different types that there are. But first, of course, we're going to have to go through what those three types refer to or are specifically. All right, now, sometimes you'll see it as first conditional, second conditional, and third. Just for the sake of argument, I've identified them as type 1, type 2, and type 3, but you're welcome to switch in between. Now, when it comes to a conditional sentence, please know that these are referencing what are called hypothetical situations and the possible outcomes that would result. Hypothetical situations are those which have not actually occurred, okay? Now, for type 1, or sometimes referred to as first conditional, these are more realistic or probable situations. And you'll notice that for each type, we begin with an if and then a than, or in some cases, if and then some other result as a result. Not very well stated on my end, excuse me. So now looking at type 1, which again is a little bit more real, a little bit more possible, we have as an example, if it rains, we will stay inside. And notice that it refers to the present and future. Okay, here it has not rained yet, right? If it rains implies that it is in fact a hypothetical situation. And the result, well, we will stay inside if the first condition happens. Now, moving on to a type 2, which again occurs in the present and future, we're looking at something a little less realistic, a little bit more improbable. All right, for this example, we see if, there we go again, starting first with if. So if I were rich, great, I would travel the world. So the condition being if I were rich, the result, well, I would travel the world. Again, possible, not impossible necessarily, but improbable, right? Unless, of course, you marry rich, good for you. All right, now, type 3, or sometimes third conditional, this is really more of an impossibility. It's way less realistic, and this really does only occur in the past, so when you're reflecting on the past. Now, in this example, I have, if she had known, she would have come. However, we know, reflecting in the past, there's no way that she would have known whatever it is she would have known. And of course, the result would have been, that she would have come. All right, so now that we've reviewed the three types of conditional sentences, let's go ahead and examine these first 5 sentences to determine which is which. So looking at sentence 1, it starts again with if. So if I see her, I will tell her about the meeting. Now, which type are we looking at? Is it something realistic or probable? Is it something not quite as realistic and maybe less possible or probable, or is it occurring in the past? Well, I can tell right away that it's not occurring in the past, so I can get rid of type 3 or third conditional. So we're going to focus our attention on type 1 or type 2. Let's see. Well, if I see her, I will tell her about the meeting. This, for me, I would identify as first conditional or type 1, insofar as it is a realistic scenario of something that could potentially happen, even if only in the hypothetical. So I would identify number 1 as type 1. All right, now the second one, if he had studied harder, he would have passed the test. And some of you may have noticed that we're referring to the past tense, which right away should tell you that we're looking at the third conditional, or in this case, type 3, right? We're reflecting on the past, instantly tells you that we're in that third or type 3 conditional sentence. All right, now, sentence 3. If I were a superhero, I would save the world. Well, I know I'm not referring to the past, so type 3 or third conditional I can get rid of. However, I know between type 1 and type 2, or rather second conditional, is likely the culprit, insofar as being a superhero is less realistic relative to that type 1 or first conditional. Therefore, for number 3, I would identify this as second conditional or type 2. Not quite realistic. All right, now for number 4, if it is sunny tomorrow, so we're looking at the future, we will have a picnic. Now for this, again, I know instantly we're not dealing with the past, so we can get rid of that type 3 or third conditional. Instead, we're looking between type 1 and type 2. Well, among those, just kind of looking at the context of the sentence, this is a realistic situation, even if looking into the future. The potential for sunny weather tomorrow would result in us having a picnic. which means I would likely classify it as first conditional or type 1, as it is within the realm of possibility. All right, now for sentence number 5, if they had left earlier, they would have arrived on time. Right away, hopefully you were able to identify the tense being past tense. If they had, we're looking at the past. Therefore, instantly, we can tell that we're looking at third conditional or type 3 or impossible. So for number 5, that would be a third conditional or type 3. All right, now for those at home, which are all of you, do me a favor and in the comment section below, if you feel brave enough, please give me a first conditional or type 1 or a sentence in first conditional, a second sentence written in the second conditional, and of course, for that third sentence, please put it in the third conditional sentence or type 3. Of course, defined and listed above. Okay, hopefully this exercise was helpful for you. Please know, again, oftentimes you'll see the language switched, whether it's referring to the type or referring to first, second, and third conditional. But just be aware that they fit the same definition, or at least very close to it. All right, thank you for joining me, and I look forward to working with you in the next one. All right. Oh, and have a good day.